and I podcast number 64. This is part two of this week's episode. So I've got Aaron Fintel on here, and Aaron and I went to an auction, local auction, consignment auction here, and they had several dispersals on there that they were getting rid of some guys that were retiring, some guys that were getting out of business, so on and so forth. But what I want to talk about, and because it's kind of something that's been striking me here of late, is how the late model pre-def units and how that are low hour and how they've been selling. So, Aaron, welcome to the show, bud.
Good to be on, brother.
All right. So,
but let's throw that all in the trash. And
okay.
Let's talk about the value of donkey forklifts.
Yeah, we actually figured out what those were. They sold what? How many? How many they sell? Three.
Three.
Yeah. So
they had a good one, an old good one, and one with a bad transmission.
Right. One with bad transmission. It was just for parts. They were selling it for parts.
Right.
And then they had, of course, all the array of donkey attachments that you can imagine. Someone was trying to pin the tail on the donkey there for a while, it seemed like, but but overall it was a very I've never watched a donkey sell before, so I was excited. All right, so we've been watching these auctions now for the last couple months here since the beginning of the year, and we've watched several pre-def, low-houred, early model machine sales, starting with that 80 whatever it was that sold and sold for $100,000. What was that? An
8400.
8400. Maryland. Yeah, the guy was from Maryland, but I think the machine was whatever. He was someplace, but we watched that one sell for $100,000, and it had a couple of thousand hours on it, maybe.
Ish.
Something like that. Okay, then we watched, there was a 9770 that sold about 3 weeks ago that sold for $100,000. And then we watched an 8130 sale at this last sale here in Brush that had 900 hours on it or something like that, right around there, and it sold for 137.5 or something like that.
132.
132. Okay, so there is getting to be a precedence here of these late model or early model machines that were pre-def that guys really seem to be lining up to buy.
Right.
So
yeah, I think there is some of that, and the whole thing to me is funny because within our AOR, which is so big it could be a large size state on its own, we've had virtually no trouble with def.
Right.
And that's one thing is I sell late model, low hour stuff all over the country to guys that, if they don't have a def machine, that's always their big question is, well, what do I got to worry about with this def? And, it all comes down to, I've talked to numerous people across the country, and it all comes down to do not let the def tank run out, or you'll be putting a pump in, and then once you put that pump in, you do it again and again and again. Excuse me. So there's a lot of fear tactics with def, and ironically enough, I think def works better in the farm machinery than it does in the pickups and trucks. But it is an issue, and it's driving up the older, clean, low-hour stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing too about def. It's not like it's something new. This is
right.
What is this? The 5th year of def coming up? 15, I guess third year. 15 was the first full blown final tier 4.
Model year right now.
The whole final tier 4 thing. So, but on the deer side, but if you look at the case side of the business, and they've been using def fuel since entering tier 4 engines.
Right. AGCO's had def even before CNH did. They had def like in 1983. So.
Right. Yeah. They early adopters is what they were. So.
Yeah. We were putting on urea and the hose came loose and shot in the engine, and we had no smoke.
Yeah, they had so let's talk about that a little bit here. So here we're looking at these machines where I'm watching them. So I'm wondering how in the world they're gonna, like, for example, we'll use that 9770 for example, and that is an extreme example, and I'm not gonna pretend like it's not, because it is. But someone bought a 9770 for $180,000. Okay, you could probably buy a 3-year-old 9770, 4-year-old for sure, or S670. I'm sorry, for with those kind of hours on it, for that same amount of money, right? So you're going to be.
Oh yeah, I have combines with less hours, more specs that are less hours, more specs, and are 2014s.
Right.
For that money or less.
Yeah. So what's driving that marketplace? What's driving guys to go do something like that? I mean, I know someone probably got in the heat of the moment, got all jacked up and fired up, and like, I'm buying that combine today no matter what. But why would they go out and spend, worst case scenario, $40,000-$50,000 more than they could buy that combine from any dealer in the United States?
Well, that combine's a real bad example. I have no logical explanation for that machine.
And that's what I've been racking my brain about that for the last 3 weeks. Like, what?
Right. Instead of that machine, I would look at the numerous, say, 11 model 9770s I know of that have sold around the country.
Okay, let's talk about those.
800 to 1,000 separator hours, set up right. 132, 135.
Okay.
130 to 140 all day, all the time.
Yeah.
And you can buy, almost buy a 13 S670 similarly equipped, similar hours for the same price.
Right.
I think what's driving that is there was a lot of, as we've talked about before, the S series combines maybe came out a year too early, and the 12 scared a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Now the guy buying that combine, he has a 60 now, or he has a really high hour 70,
right?
And he just doesn't want an S, Back in May of 2012, he heard how a couple nightmare stories of, the first ones that were out that were on the Harvest Run in Texas. Right. Well, they were cutting wheat down in Waco and such happened, and yeah.
Well, that's.
I think that's driving it. I think I can't say it's a death thing really, because there is, you got 3 years of combine before death.
Mm-hmm.
And above that, I don't know that it's an electronic thing, because there's not that much more electronics on an S versus a 70. I think the driving factor on them combine things is quite simply the 70 series combine. Mm-hmm. Was just one hell of a machine.
Right.
It really was. And it's simple. It's got enough creature comfort so you can run the thing all day. It's got enough capacity that you're not sacrificing anything. They're fairly simple. They look good. They're just they kind of had it figured out then, man. And I think that might be part of the driving factor on that.
Well, it's like any series of machine. The last 2 years of that series, whether it's a 10 or 11, they had it dialed in. You know what I mean? Like all the product improvements from 2008, all the way through, when they got to that final stage, they had it dialed in. They had it pretty well, and then they improved a few things here and there and along the way. But so, do you think it's a bang for your buck thing? Is that what they're doing? Is that what they're looking at? Like, I can go get this one over here that's got whatever, and with these number of hours compared to this one over here that's got this number of hours, and I can say, all right, so I'll buy this unicorn over here and I'll pay out the nose for it when I can get, 2012, how many, I think they made one combine for every American.
Right.
In 12 and 13. So I think.
Thank you, $7 corn.
Right.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's your 40 acres and a combine. Hope you enjoy it, folks.
Right. And you're going to still have a tax problem at the end of the year.
That's right. So.
No, on combines, Casey, I really can't pin it down other than the fact that the guys that are buying that, they just want a simple machine. They really do. Conversely, I've had two guys I've sold S670s to, stretched out across the country, that were 60 series owners, right?
Okay.
And they wanted, I take that back, one had a 50 series and one had a 60. Both of those guys were drinking from the well of, I want a really low-hour 70 series. I want a really low-hour 70 series. Till we start talking and I show them, hey, you can get this 14 670 for a little bit more and it's got more stuff on it. Oh, yeah, that makes way more sense.
Right.
So I think that's the deal with that. Now on tractors.
Okay.
I think, I can remember, and it depends where you're at. I know us, within our own AOR, the 20 series, we struggle with it. We've struggled with it for 5-6 years now. We struggled with 30 series a couple of years ago, and I think that was as the 8Rs, the flood of used equipment drove 8Rs lower, and that had a really strong impact on 30s because guys were not yet trading for 30s as an older used tractor. Mm-hmm. They were putting premium in them, basically putting our money in a 30. The 30s sit around, don't move, got to dump it, lose money, whatever.
Right.
Now, that 30 series tractor, if it's set up right, or if it's, if it's a, even up to 9,000 hours, if it is set up right, good rubber, all that, guys want that tractor.
Right.
And if it's a low-hour machine, it's super, super hot. That market is completely driven by lack of emissions. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, if you got a first gen 8R, it's the same tractor with a bigger, fancier cab. Same exact machine.
Right.
But they only made those tractors 1 year, right? Mm-hmm. So there's not very many of those around. There's way more 11s and 12s, which have the diesel particulate filter on them. And although that's a pretty trouble-free device, it's, guys, I don't want that filter. I don't want DEF. I wish I could buy a new 4850. It's that market that's really driving those tractors. Yeah. And quite honestly, a lot of those tractors that I myself have sold have been to, besides dealers buying them, have been to outfits that have newer equipment. They just want that third, fourth tractor that's easy to, that they don't have to worry about that stuff with.
Right. Right now your FaceTime is on pause. I can still hear you fine. Oh, there you are. There you come back. Look at you. There you are.
Oh.
So one thing that I've kind of back to your point where the guy wants a new 4850 type style tractor. Obviously, the guys that are looking for those are looking. They're trying to upgrade their fleet to the same to a model they feel comfortable with, but with the least number of hours they have, and they're paying for it. So that 8130, for example, that we watched Wednesday down at Brush, that sold for what I would consider to be pretty strong retail money at 132.5. You know what I mean? No, I don't know that if we'd have been in that range on our lot, that we would have a hard time selling it. I don't think we'd have too many takers at that point. Like that.
No, I don't. I would agree with that. The thing that, it was a tractor for 900 hours. The rubber wasn't like new. It was ILS power shift.
Right.
Which in that era of tractor is ideal because the guys want the ILS front end. Mm-hmm. And that market, if that's going to be the main tractor, those guys are not necessarily IVT fans.
Right.
So it was kind of the perfect storm of machine. But you're right, at 132, I bet I'm in only 900 hours. But I think if we were to park that thing on the lot and ask 135, you'd get a whole lot of, oh man, you guys are crazy. It's just an 8130.
Yeah.
But it brought 132 at an auction and didn't have any trouble getting there.
Yeah. Well, that also. Well, you also take a look at what it was compared to some of the other stuff that sold, and I mean, it was probably of all the tractors that were there. I'm trying to think here, but there were newer tractors that sold for less that had the same number of hours on them.
Yeah, there was there was a couple early R's, similar hours that actually brought less.
Yep. So that makes you.
Case in point, same size.
Yep.
Same horsepower, better equipped.
Yep.
And brought less.
Yep. So that tells me that there is a driving factor when it comes to the DEF thing. Now, I will say that there was an issue with some of the R's that were there, that they had, the 7R that they had there. He spelled it all out, was being very open and honest with it. Basically, it was a money-back guarantee if it didn't work, and they couldn't get it figured out, so on and so forth. But that may have scared some people off too. Is that I don't want to mess with this thing type of deal. And
yeah, especially in that market,
right,
where that buyer wasn't necessarily there anyway.
Mm-hmm.
The 8130 buyer was there,
right,
and you start rattling off that, well, this has a steering, blah, 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 it's guaranteed to get fixed at the local deer dealer, blah, blah, blah. And that guy that might have thought about that tractor, but he really wanted that 8130, instantly went, see, that's why I'm not buying that damn tractor.
Right, yeah. So I don't know that they did themselves any favors there, but I will say that I was really shocked that 8130, and it wasn't a late model 8130 either. I mean, it was 6 or 7, wasn't it? I don't remember. Anyway.
Yeah, 7 or 8.
Yeah. So it was an early model one. I mean, it wasn't.
It was an 06, 07, 08, or 09.
Well, that's a good way to narrow it down. That was a good job. I mean, you did good there, narrowing that down. But I think, I watch this stuff happen, and I watch these sales, and I watch this stuff come up, and it tells me that there is a generation of guys that are trying to come in, either younger generation, that are trying to come in and get a machine they feel comfortable around. That's maybe they grew up on a tractor like that, because if it's an 06, 07, 08, 09, 30 series tractor, right? Well, if the guy's just starting out farming, he's 30 years old. Think about that. That tractor might have been on his grandpa's place or his dad's place, something like that, when he was 18, 19 years old, and he was, coming into his mid-20s, and drove that tractor new, and he feels comfortable with it. Oh, there's one over there with 800 hours. I know how to run that tractor. I don't have to mess with anything. And then I'm going to try to, get it for a bargain, and he ends up paying out the nose for it.
Yeah, there might be some of that. And honestly, with the unicorn status of that tractor and seeing some of the crazy things happen across this country on unicorns, I told you that day I wouldn't be a bit surprised if that thing brought 150.
Yeah. No, I think so. If it wouldn't have been raining and people wouldn't have left, I imagine that there probably would have been a few more buyers there that might have jumped in on it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They might have, I don't know. But at 132.5, I mean, you're really not that far away from banging that 140 number. I would have taken as one or two more guys to be in there bidding on that to get that 140 number pretty easy.
Right.
So,
well, and of the things that were there, what surprised me more than that probably, because, like I said, I could have seen that thing brought 150 and I would have laughed, but I wouldn't have been, fall over in shock.
Mm-hmm.
They had an 8320 there with 4,000 hours, 4,500 hours, just a straight axle, not a lot of weight on it. Decent tractor, average to above average, not a showroom rig, 50% rubber, and that thing brought in the mid-90s. In the mid-90s for a 20 series tractor.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a 1,500-hour tractor. It was 4,500 hours.
Right. It was at that, maybe I
what
need to start.
On earth? That was probably the biggest what in the hell of that whole auction.
Yeah. Yep. That was one, too, where, you got guys sitting there talking about, looking at the different stuff that they're kind of mindsets that they have when they come in is like, I'm not buying a this, that, or the other thing. I'm buying that tractor, and I'm going to buy it today. You know what I mean? So I think there's a huge marketplace for people that have that, and it's at auctions. It's not at the dealership.
No.
You know what I mean?
Here's a prime example. Yesterday, I was talking with a gentleman in Iowa about trading tractors. He was after, your typical. Here's a scenario: 6,000 hour 30 series tractor, ILS IVT, nice rig, very nice rig, and he shoots me an email and says, "Hey, what would it take? What's my tractor worth? Playing that game, So I said, and he says, I got an 09 8230 with 1,500 hours, and instantly I'm like, okay. I'm like, you want to trade for this tractor that's the same age, but I want to get into more power cheap. So I told him, we had this little discussion. I said, here's the deal with this. I said, if I'm going to trade, I said, I probably am like straight across trade is my home run number in my mind, okay, for you to pull this off. I said, but that is not what you want to do. I said, that tractor right there, I said, if you were to trade with me, I promise you're leaving $30,000 on the table. And that's $30,000 that I can't get out of it. I can't begin to get that out of it. But you can.
Right.
It's your tractor. It's a one owner. It was an 09 8230, so it's almost 10 years old. He's putting the 1,500 hours on it. I'm like, you very well might get 125, 130 out of that. I can't even ask that on the lot, but you might get that out of that tractor. I'm like, I said, whether it's me, whether it's a dealer anywhere in North America, I said, do not trade that tractor. Yeah. You would be doing a huge disservice to your bottom line to trade that tractor. Yep. You have a machine there you can totally maximize the profitability of by selling yourself or getting, throwing it on a Sullivan auction with lots and lots of advertising and glamour and all that involved. It's a huge opportunity that if it's a trade-in, it's a trade-in, and light money on fire.
Right. Yep, that's true. I mean, those guys will buy that stuff, and it'll be out there, and for whatever reason, there's 4 classifications of machinery now. I think you got the retirement sale price, you got the dealership retail price, you got a wholesale number and an auction value, a consignment auction value. So it just shows you that the late model low-hour, late model too, but the low-hour quality stuff is very, very, very scarce right now.
Right.
And guys are just scrambling to find whatever they can find, and they're willing to pay whatever they can get for it. And the majority of that stuff is coming off retirement sales, farm sales, those kind of things, where if they get that late model low-hour something, or even just low-hour something, it could be an early model low-hour something, they're going to pay just ungodly amounts of money for what it is. So it just makes me, I shake my head at it. I can't get my arms wrapped around what it is that they're doing, because they're not even getting any it's not like that auction guys being like, okay, we're going to do 0% financing today, so whatever you buy, it's at 0%. They're not doing that. There's no incentive for them to go out and spend. I'm going to offset what I'm paying for this machine with the, with some low interest rate that I'm getting, where I'm going to shave 10 grand off the life of my note or something like that. And that's why I'm going to pay 10 grand more for it.
Right.
None of that logic is coming into play. I'm here to pay full retail plus 10, and I'm going to pay you 5.5% interest because that's how it is.
Right.
That's just, I just can't get my head wrapped around it. I don't get what that caveat is and why it's such a driving factor right now.
It's mindset. It is maybe a little monkey see, monkey do.
Right.
A couple guys do it. It starts becoming a trend, and there you go.
I don't know. Anyhow, what else has been going on in your world, man?
Just living the dream, buddy.
Yeah. How's the sheep business coming into this spring here?
Sheep business it's there.
It's there. Are you in full lambing time right now?
No, I am. I've got 2 out of 3 groups. One group wrapped up, the other group finishing up, and the other group won't be till summer. So,
right on.
Time to here in another 100 days or so, we'll stop hemorrhaging cash and have a little income on that deal. That's already spent due to a massive debt load. So,
yeah. Yeah, Aaron's the only guy in the world that I know that has a 10-acre sheep feedlot and has about probably more equipment than a guy that's got an actual 50,000 head beef feedlot. You know what I mean? So
no, it's not that bad. Maybe like the 3,000 head beef.
There you go. Okay, I may have exaggerated a little bit there, folks. Sorry about that. But all in all,
it's called machinery addiction and ties to the iron.
That would be a very solid point, no doubt about that. Okay, man. Man, I think we beat this one to death. So, guys want to find you on social media, where they get you at?
Aaron Fintel on Facebook, at Aaron Fintel on Twitter, and I'm on there quite a bit in ag circles and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much the deal. Cell phone is 308-760-1193. If you want to just talk iron or work a deal, I'm there, man.
Okay.
Tractor geek extraordinaire.
That is an understatement of the day right there. You can find me, Casey Seymour. You can find me at Moving Iron LLC on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also find my website at movingironllc.com. You can also find this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn Radio, and SoundCloud. You can also check out our YouTube channel, Moving Iron Podcast YouTube channel that I just launched here about a week or so ago. And you'll see the video version of this up here and ready to go. I posted on various social media as well. And so all in all, folks, I feel like really, really glad that we've got the audience that we've gotten so far and the response that we've had. So I appreciate everybody tuning in every week and spending a little time with me and Aaron and Gina here. So so I think until next time, let's go move some iron. I'm Casey Seymour.
Aaron Fintel.
All right, baby. Out.